flat spot so it stays nice and level. And here we want to sort of repeat the old maximum of cutting planks and then sticks and then cubes. In this case, though, I'm going to cut planks completely separate, unlike an onion where you kept the back sort of still intact. So here with a forward motion till the tip strikes the board here, but with this upward angle, and then I'm going to pull the knife back and all the way off the table to finish the cut. So now I've got basically a miter here along the side of the potato, and if I just hold the potato still and draw it back, I can finish the cut, and I don't abuse the edge on the cutting board at all. So back to the measurement, right? So in this case, because it's long, I have to make sure that I'm not cutting wedge shapes this way, or that my knife doesn't fall out at an angle here, so that the knife blade remains upright and perpendicular to the table surface, but that also the first and second and third cuts are all parallel to one another. Little fancy touches to reach over the top and keep it from falling. And that also gives you a nice visual for whether the cut you're making now is the same size as the cut you just finished. So discard the round outer edges. And now I've got a series of planks, right, that are consistent in size and shape. And I'm going to cut sticks. So I'm going to reduce the number of those and cut sticks to the same measurement. And here, because they tend to slip around, I use less of a sort of a drawing cut this way, and more often will cut down to the table there, making sure that I lift the knife up rather than twist it as it's sort of buried in the table. So from planks to sticks, right?
Home French fries.
Right. Yeah. So if it were soup, and we teach students about cutting cubes as the sort of primary accuracy piece, right? So from there, visually going back to the same. Slip it and sliding around. Get rid of the pointy pieces. So here I'm holding the whole stack from the outside with my thumb and pinky, and then using my knuckle as a guide here to guide the knife. And I can adjust accurately the knife just by rocking my hand slightly back and forth. And as I was saying with the onion, a slicing motion is just that much easier because the edge of the knife does the hard work of cutting all of the pieces rather than the sort of this downward sort of effort. So a nice test is if you can
Very nice.
grab your cuts and stack them like the little Purina cube in your hand. And I give myself probably a C on that effort. But
I think you're grading on a different
I know,
scale.
exactly,
Thank you.
exactly.
Your own
You know,
hardest critic.
I know, I'm my own worst critic. But again, the whole notion is that from planks to sticks to cubes is the basic methodology, and it applies to mangoes and pineapple and potatoes and anything. So once you learn how to cut one vegetable, more or less you know how to cut all of them, save for, say, an artichoke.
Now, Tucker, do you think that using really more of a slice than a chop motion is really one of the primary reasons why chefs use a bigger knife?
Yeah. So the idea behind a longer knife is that you have more sort of horizontal motion to take advantage of, and letting the edge then do the work. If you imagine having to cut 1,000 slices a day, you can sort of sympathize with how much effort that would take if it were purely a chopping motion and relied on all this shoulder strength to drive the knife downward. If you let the edge do the work, then you have, you reduce the amount of force probably by half to get the job done. And so that 1,000 cuts becomes 500 cuts, and with a bit of sort of muscle training and muscle memory, it just becomes that much faster and easier. And you know, not hurting yourself too is an important piece. And we occasionally have people in our industry who suffer from repetitive strain injuries like carpal tunnel. And if you hold a knife all day, and if it's uncomfortable, and if your posture is bad, and you're trying to hold the knife in front of your belly like this, and you can see the angle of my wrist could be problematic. If I get out of my own way and sort of lean forward, now I have all this space, and you can see how relaxed the grip of the knife is. That's a big deal. And then reducing the amount of effort necessary to squeeze onto the knife to push it through the food means that I have, you know, I reduce the incidence again. So using the edge of the knife and having good posture and using good technique is a huge piece of not hurting yourself if you're doing something over and over and over. And you see, you know, typists who have the same issues where they type very forcefully on the keyboard and then they have repetitive strain injuries. So the same dilemma is sort of presented to people in this industry, but having good technique is really the key. A sharp knife and using a slicing motion.
Cool.